You've seen this painting a million times. I've seen it a million times. But why? It's just a man and a woman in front of a house. What is so special about it? Why would anyone go to a museum to see this? If you feel as vexed as we do right now, fear not. We have the explanation you're looking for. So let's get into it. But before we begin, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. The year was 1930. The banks were failing, the stock market had just crashed, and the United States public was witnessing the Great Depression. The implosion of the economy was hitting the masses hard. In the meantime, a relatively unknown painter was struggling to get his painting admitted into the annual competition of American paintings at the Art Institute of Chicago. It won the Norman Wade Harris Bronze Award. You can guess by bronze title that it was third place, but if you count the cash prizes, it was really fifth. The painter received $300 for his troubles, which doesn't seem like a lot, but it would have meant a lot in a historic depression. Now, that would have been that, had it not been for the political and economic conditions of the country. People who saw the painting were divided. Ask yourself why. I say yourself because it will take us a while to get there, so hang on. Grant Wood, the painter who'd submitted the painting to the Art Institute of Chicago, had received his training there almost 15 years prior. In the city, he'd worked as a silversmith and a metal worker, and then moved back to Cedar Rapids, Iowa. As we know, artists can get antsy, so he packed up his bags and went to Europe. However, being in close proximity to modern art didn't help. He still disliked Cubism and a lot of other modern movements. He appreciated Impressionism, Pointillism, and New Objectivity, but he was particularly taken by the style of Northern Renaissance paintings, their crisp style and rhythmic lines. When he returned home from Munich in the late 1920s, he was feeling fresh and rejuvenated. He settled back into his life in Iowa. Now, that would have been that, but one day he noticed something. While driving around with another painter in the town of Eldon, he saw the Dibble House, this old thing, wood. Thought it a form of borrowed pretentiousness, a structural absurdity, to put a Gothic-style window in such a flimsy frame house. Those were the words of his biographer, Darrell Garwood. I'm sure you're thinking, now that you've said it, I see it, even if you don't. The house's weird dimensions come from the Carpenter Gothic style, the American take on European Gothic architecture. But seeing it on this small house in the middle of nowhere was a little off-putting. After quickly sketching the house on the back of an envelope, he asked the residents for permission to paint it. He then did an oil painting and decided to improve upon it, because God knows it needed improving. So he asked himself what kind of people would live in this old house with flimsy Gothic style. I have no idea why he needed to ask that when he'd already been the owner. Still, he needed models, so he chose his sister, Wood's sister, dressed up in a colonial print apron to better represent the rural American lifestyle. Another important thing to mention here, well, maybe not important, but definitely interesting, his sister was called Nan, not affectionately. It's weird to name a baby Nan, but she lived to 101 years, so maybe the parents were onto something. For the male model, he chose his dentist, you know, like we all do. He dressed him up in old school attire as well to echo tintypes from my old family album. With the two models looking like old school farmers, he started painting. After painting the two in separate settings because he didn't want his sister to roast him in front of Byron McKeeby, the dentist. He handed them props to further sell their rural personas and elongated their faces to go with the Gothic architecture. The result is a surprisingly well-painted work. Just look at the woman's head and how it rhythmically mimics the shape of the window behind her. Look at her clothing and how the pattern of the window drape matches it. Now, let's move on to the man's pitchfork. Notice the mirroring creases on his clothing and the house behind. By using several vertical lines, the painting almost mocks the house, the grandeur of Gothic architecture mapped on such a small structure. Some might say,
if there's a bustle in your hedgerow, don't be alone there. It's just a sprinkling for the make
It's slightly intimidating to see a man with a pitchfork staring
Yes,
at you.
there are two paths you can go by, but in the long run,
The woman's puritanical
there's still
look
time to
emphasizes
change
the
the
rural
road
lifestyle.
you're on.
Meanwhile, the hard-working farmer's stare unnerved city folk. And here we arrive at the reason why it attracted controversy when it was exhibited. Some
And
people
it
saw
makes
it as
me
an expression of
wonder.
small-town innocence, the diligent working class sticking to old-school principles. At a time when the nation was suffering referring to one of its first crises, the reference to good old American values seemed very timely. Just 50 years before the painting's exhibition, more than half
Your
of
head is humming and it won't
now
go.
with urban
In case you
migration,
don't know,
industrial progress, and
the
an
piper's
increasing
calling you
entrepreneurial
to
drive,
join
everything
him.
will change. With the Great Depression looming
Dear
over their
lady,
heads,
can you
Americans
hear
had
the
a lot of
wind
time
blow?
for reflection,
And
the
did you
painting
know
provided ample impetus
your
for
stairway
social
lies on the
The pitchfork was a symbol of country folks' work ethic, and the assertiveness of the figures demonstrated the pride they took in their little routines and rituals. The painting was in newspapers everywhere: Chicago, New York, Indianapolis, Boston, and Kansas. When it was published in the Cedar Rapids Gazette, the locals were outraged. This is not how we live. He painted us like we were dumb. Can you believe this? Nobody knows about it, not even me. Do you like American Gothic? Do you hate it? Let us know in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll see you in the next one.